kicked off. And congrats to Max, Anne-Marie, the Ballina Chamber, home to Mayo. That's what it's all about today. And for planning an event like this, these things don't happen on their own. It takes a lot of energy, time, money, planning to get these sort of people together, what's going to work, what's not going to work. And I suppose how is that it has come about. So Home to Mayo is part of the Global Irish Festival series, which is a joint initiative between Culture Ireland and the Department of Foreign Affairs. And that is the support that's given throughout, but very appreciative here, especially for the Mayo Marquee here in Market Square, which is sponsored by Local Live Performance Support Scheme, funded by the Department of Tourism, Culture, Arts and the Gaeltacht, Sport and Media, and administered by Mayo County Council, with thanks to the Mayo County Council for funding and supporting Ballina's Home to Mayo Festival this weekend. So that's where the money comes from, that's where the support comes from. So it's very important to have that to start with. No matter how much interest is in it, as I said, there has to be a team of leaders to get it going, but without the support it wouldn't happen. So very grateful to Mayo County Council supporting Ballina's Home to Mayo Festival. So what's my part in it? Well, my part in it is to talk about food and to bring that interest. Everybody eats. So through my interest into something new and innovative for today. And what I'm going to talk about today is plant-based nutrition and what that means. So it's not clear sometimes to people when they talk about plant-based nutrition what it means. There's lots of diets that fall under that heading. And we're going to say, why is it needed? What are its benefits? What are the barriers? I'm going to talk a bit about flavour. I hope I don't lose you, but for me, flavour is the key. You don't get sustainable dishes or recipes without flavorful dishes. And then we're going to cook, eventually, finally back to the food. A little mushroom risotto, barley, as a source of protein, split lentils. And then we're going to roast a little bit of cauliflower and finish it with tofu and a little bit of toasted nuts and some herbs, of course. So, and we're going to do a little bit of little salad as well with John Clarke, organic smoked salmon. And how, plant-based doesn't mean no meat or no fish. Fish is a superfood, in my opinion. It's one of them things you need to be eaten every week. And it's important that we try and bring that into our food throughout every week, as in at least once a week. So that's our oily fish for our omega-3s. What does that help? That's our brain health we're talking about there. And cardio, the heart. Cardio is, so I suppose we can start there. What is plant-based and why is it important? Mediterranean cuisine can be considered plant-based, a lower volume of meat. Pescatarian is a form of plant-based. Ovotarian, that's just eating fish and vegetables or eggs and vegetables. Vegans and vegetarians also. There was a study came out in 2019 from the Eat Lancet Commission that offered advice, guidelines to people about what they should be eating. And the main reason there was two reasons. One, sustainability and the future of our planet and how our production systems work, but also our own health. In Ireland, the heart cardiovascular disease is one of the biggest killers. It's like 8,000 people last year died from cardio-related disease. Changing your diet could reduce that by 10%. That's a major difference. And if you can consider that, we have all been affected by it, but if you consider it and try and bring it in some way into your own diet, that makes a big change for you and your family. And I suppose that's my point I want to get across today. It can be quite boring to listen to, so I'm going to do it through food. So, we're coming up to 2050. There's figures are out there. Planet at 10 billion. How are we going to look after them? We need to change what we're doing. So we need to look at this form of nutrition as what is going to be used and brought into our diets for the future. So to that point, I've started here with a little roasting off a little bit of mushroom. This is going to be a vegan dish actually to start with anyway. But it's a little bit of mushroom, split beans, barley. And I started off a little bit of garlic and onion to start with. And I'm just going to let it simmer away there. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to ask, I see John Clarke down there. I'm going to shock him and ask him to come up here if he has a minute. John Clarke is a face that's known to everybody in Ballina. Because, John, I'm going to put a little bit of a surprise on you, but I'm going to do a little bit of smoked salmon. Because I thought for me, for a dish that epitomizes Ballina, or a product that epitomizes Ballina, is of course the salmon. So, you know, how do we bring that in? And I think your product, the smoked salmon that you make here in Ballina, is something you're very proud of, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I am indeed. Yeah, we're in business here a long time, since 1945.
Yeah, I might get up that.
Oh, yeah.
As long as it's working.
Oh yeah, it's working now. Yeah.
Yeah. So 1945.
1945. Yeah.
And that was started by your dad.
That's right. Yeah, he started young but married late.
Married late.
There was only the two of us.
I think he was focused on the work, was it?
And focused on the work indeed.
Yeah.
And we're still here nearly 80 years later.
80 years is amazing. That in itself is sustainability, through Ballina.
That's right.
And it's sustainable, I suppose, because of the product you use. And it's down to the quality of the product. Can you tell me about how he started off?
Yeah, he started off doing fish and rabbits.
Fish and rabbits?
Yeah, this was before the mass production of chickens.
Right,
and
okay.
You sell the rabbits fresh, and you sell the skins then to a fella in Dublin to make coats out of.
Coats out of the rabbits?
Coats out of the rabbits, but the myxomatosis put a stop to that.
Okay.
And he started rearing chickens then actually down where we are now, and did that for a few years.
You started rearing chickens down where you are now.
Yeah.
You're in the middle of the town.
That's right.
With a shop on the bottom.
Yeah.
Where did the chickens go?
Upstairs.
Upstairs?
There was a big place at the back.
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing.
So this was the 1950s.
Yeah, different times.
Different times, different era. No heat paid.
Wow, that's amazing.
But there was a fire in Rose Corner then around the late 50s, early 60s, and the smoke inhalation killed them.
Oh.
So that put a stop to that. We started buying them in, and the fish got busy after that, and we started smoking salmon then in the late 60s.
So you got the idea someplace, but the smoked salmon...
He was always trying different things.
Very good, very good. Well, listen, as I said, smoking salmon, going to selling salmon to smoking salmon, it's not something you jump into, but how there's a learning process. How did he do that?
By trial and error.
Yeah.
The process itself is quite simple.
Right.
Just salt, small bit of salt, dry it, and smoke it. Then we use a mixture of oak and beech.
Oak and beech.
Yeah.
And
that tends to do the trick.
And I know you have a beautiful smoker down there just behind the shop. So when did he buy that?
1971.
71?
Yeah.
And that's the same smoker you use?
Same one is still there.
So buy right, buy once.
That's it, and if it's not broke, don't fix it.
If it's not broke, don't fix it. So and that's my point, I suppose. That's key to your consistency. You've had a good product coming up through the Mayo, or to start off with, and then you're smoking it and selling it in Ballina, and the flavour of it, a nice simple process, as you said, and the flavour of it then is what sells it consistently.
That's right. You'll always sell good stuff, but you'll only sell bad stuff once because they won't come back for it.
No. And you've built up a big market not only at home in Ireland, but abroad.
That's right, yeah. We've had the retail trade, wholesale trade into restaurants, hotels, and an export trade then mostly at Christmas time.
And again, that's people taking a little bit of Ballina to wherever they are in the world.
They take a bit of Ballina home with them.
Brilliant.
And they like to be reminded of their trip at Christmas.
And listen, for me, I think it's a really tasty, delicate dish that, or product to use at Christmas. For me, why I say I wanted to pick this was because it is a product, as you say, has the history and sustainability of Ballina, but also for me it fits in with what is plant-based and its meaning and definition, because you can take a little bit of smoked salmon and use it to get your protein and to get lots of flavor, and you're still not you're not going to overdo it with how much you're eating, but you're getting lots of that omega-3s, the good omega-3s for the heart. You're getting today. What we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of fennel, which you've seen me chopping there, some peas, and a little bit of lemon zest, which we already have in, a little bit of fennel, and lovage. Lovage is a herb we don't hear about too much, but it's a real traditional herb. It's one of them ones that used to grow around the coast, and it smells like celery.
Nice.
Yeah, but what they used to do is around the coast they would take, very available shellfish. It goes very well with shellfish. So they take the shellfish and boil it, crabs, lobsters, mussels, and use that. That was the flavouring combination because it was free, no money needed, and grew wild. So for me, it's a great flavour to have bringing back into a new dish in Ballina. That's sort of a bit like you, the history doing 360, coming all the way through.
And very, very low food mileage.
And very low food mileage. And for me, that's what is sustainability. You know what I mean? When we talk about what is, how does it work or why does it work, it's because it's easy. You can replicate it often, and it's not hard work. It doesn't change because you have the products that grow locally. And once it doesn't change and you replicate it, like you said, do it right and people will come back for it. But once you go change and are messing around, well, that's when, no, I didn't, it's not the same as the last time. And people won't go back. So here we're just going to take a little bit of this smoked salmon. I'm going to put it through a little salad. We're going to keep a little bit back. So I'm going to put a little bit through the salad. Oops. So as I said, when we're talking about plant-based, we're talking about the whole grains and vegetables, and trying to bring those vegetables into everyday dishes. So we're going to get a little bit of pepper with this, and a little bit of, because there is enough salt in it already, add a little bit of pepper. So we've loads of, when we talk about flavour as well, flavour is one of those things that I think is not fully understood. And what I mean by that is that we talk about the taste of something in our mouths. But in actual fact, flavour comes from what we see, comes from what we smell. Actually, the majority of flavour and taste comes from what we smell. And then there's a certain percentage that comes from what we eat in our mouth. And that is the texture of food. So when you're talking about putting a dish together, what you should think about is to have the size of the food in or around the same size or consistency, as in should take the same time to eat. So peas, fennel chopped thin, so that it should take about the same time to eat in your mouth. Otherwise, the taste of one will overpower the other because it takes longer to eat in your mouth. So that's sort of a general rule. When you talk about the smell and the balance of flavors, so there you're talking about having a flavor combination that a color that's appetizing to look at, so people are going to look forward to eating it. So it already starts the taste buds in the mouth. When you're talking about the visual, the texture, the smell. So from here we have the smell of the smoked salmon. We have the smell from the herbs. And a little bit of texture then from the fennel and an acid then. So you have your sweetness salmon, you have your sour lemon juice, sweetness peas, texture, the appearance and how it looks, and that is a dish that anybody will enjoy, consistently. So that's just one of the dishes I was going to do today, a little one to start off with. We'll leave that there on the side. And another one then we're going to work on is the barley. So John, when you look at, first of all, are you happy with that?
Quite happy with it. What else can I say?
What else are you going to say?
I'm standing too close beside you.
A real deal, yeah. No. But we come from a different culture, and I suppose this is one thing I wanted to talk about today as well. We come from a culture of potatoes and vegetables, and that is in effect a barrier to trying to change diets. And when we talk about changing, I come from a meat and potatoes. You come from a meat and potatoes. But there's people here that I know are vegetarians. Long time? No? On and off? Well, yeah, that'd be nice. But if I asked you, what do you think your opinion, what is the greatest barrier to eating plant-based, what would you say? Taste, the perception of taste, that the taste isn't it. You're missing something, yeah. Where is this? Where's the depth of flavour? Dead right, yeah. So, and that's why I get back to understanding the flavour. So, if you first sort of have to understand where the flavour comes from to make sure that the depth is going to be there for everybody that uses it. So anyway, we have the risotto on there, and I have a little bit of my tofu to go into it. We have a little bit of, and the reason we do the tofu is because there has to be a balance of protein. And John, this is going to be a test for you, a challenge for you, I think, in seeing whether you like this or not. So we're just going to toss that off in a little bit of oil and a little bit of, we've a little bit of lemon in there already, and I'm going to put that roasting in the oven. So that's a little bit of like a curry spice. We're going to put that in the oven and get that roasting off. Tight fit. So, John, the past few years have been a bit of a challenge for you?
Every year is a challenge, Ronan.
I suppose I found there's a lot of interest in food throughout the COVID. But would you have seen an interest in the shop?
Yeah, everyone went to discover that thing in the corner called a cooker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but it is true.
It's true.
There was a lot of banana bread baked.
A lot of banana bread, a lot of cakes, a
a
lot of fish and meat cooked as well.
A lot of fish and meat cooked as well. And you would have seen an increase in the fish from your side, I'm sure.
Yeah, we were quite busy retail now for the 2 years of the lockdown, all right.
Very good. And I suppose when we come to something new, would people be asking you, or is it for recipes, or how do you deal with that side of?
Sometimes they might ask, like, what's the best way to cook it, like, but we have special cooking bags, like you just bung it in and the oven 20 minutes at 150 and Bob's your uncle.
Easy, nicely done.
Even I can do it.
For me, it's one of the things, and I hope we can take this a little bit further, but one of the things for me is that children and fish is a mismatch sometimes.
Oh yeah, the mammies love experimenting with the children doing making fish fingers and various things, especially if they have the time.
I find that it's the only way you'll get parents or children to eat fish is if they sort of do it themselves. And I saw one very interesting project down south where a fish company looked at giving or supporting fish for children. That if their parents got involved with cooking it, that they would help them get involved. It's a great initiative. So, but when children and families get involved with cooking food, the barrier, there's less of a barrier, sort of what I'm trying to say.
That's true.
Yeah. And the same for plant-based. For those who don't know or don't try or don't do, that barrier is a brick wall.
Yeah.
And for those that then try or do a little bit, get engaged with it, then that becomes less of a barrier, I suppose.
Yeah, you don't know until you go.
You don't know until you try it out, yeah. And And that's sort of what I'm here today to say. People should try out a few recipes. The recipes we're going to try ourselves today are on a slide, so anybody who wants them, I'll get them to them. So we're going to portion up a little bit of a portion of this here now. Like a traditional risotto, but we're just going to get it finished up. So we're going to finish it with, again, as I said, we've got the texture, nice and soft. We're going to finish it with a little bit of colour. So we've got a little bit of beetroot, just that little bit of sourness. It'll counteract the creamy in the dish. And then we're going to do a little bit of toasted walnuts, toasted hazelnuts, cashew nuts, Brazil nuts. So you're talking about selenium, omega-3s, protein, when you're talking about all of that. So a nice little bit in there. And then I'm going to get into the oven. Put out a little bit of cauli. And again, we've got a little bit of I actually think that's a little bit, that's probably enough. We got this one a little bit smaller. So I know this isn't up your alley, but we're going to have to get you to taste, I think.
Oh, no
John,
problem at all.
you're going to be the judge today.
Yeah.
Leave that there. So I'm just going to get a little bit of colour on it first. Yeah. So this is another project that everybody should try. That's the sage flowers. So sage that you roast with your chicken, everybody knows it. I'm sure it's in a garden close by you. And so it just adds that little bit of colour to the dish. And of course we're going to get a little bit of, just a little bit of colour around about. So, thanks for the first round, and we'll be back with more in a little bit, so don't go anywhere. Now, I have some forks here for those who want to taste. Have we got pictures? You do?